All right, guys, welcome to my show. My name is Mary Hyatt, and I am a life coach, and I am a Blue Diamond wellness advocate with doTERRA Essential Oils. And I am thrilled that you are here today because that means that you are ready to wake up. You are ready to learn how to align yourself with your true self, to find your voice, and to ultimately be fully alive. So let's get started on the show today. I'll be right back. All right. Well, guys, welcome. I'm so happy that you are here because today we are talking all about money, which, as you guys know, I feel like every single day people are having conversations about money. We're talking about how to get it, how to make sure that we don't lose it. We are talking about how to earn it, how to spend it, if there is enough of it. And honestly, I feel like money is one of those kind of taboo topics that we aren't supposed to talk about. And it's something that I have been really dealing with and wrestling with in my own life. Rewind about, let's say 6 years. And I was in a place where I was massively in debt. I was probably over $50,000 in debt. My ex-husband and I had a lien in our company. We were at a very desperate place. We didn't own our house. We didn't own our cars. We were living paycheck to paycheck and going further into debt every single month, it felt like. And every single year we owed back taxes. And so I'm just sharing my dirty laundry because that was the reality of how I lived. And I wanted to bury my head in the sand every single day when I thought about money. I didn't want to check our bank account because I knew it was going to be a smaller amount than what I wanted to see. I knew that when our accountant came to us and he said, you guys have really got to budget and you've got to cut back and you've got to scale back, I didn't want to hear that. I was really honestly afraid of thinking about money, talking about money, of discussing money. And I just literally wanted to close my eyes and pretend like it wasn't an issue. And it honestly became more and more and more of an issue to where I finally had to recognize it. And so I can remember when I was in high school, I had a wonderful mentor, and he and I was a teacher of mine. He and I would go out to coffee. I went to a very kind of progressive school where it wasn't your traditional classroom kind of setting. We had a lot of one-on-one interaction with our teachers and kind of group settings. And one of the things, I don't even remember exactly how we started talking about money, but he said to me, Mary, it's just money. It comes in, it goes out. It's just money. And that was something that I feel like was incredibly helpful as I began to create kind of this money consciousness or money awareness as a young adult. And as I went into my adulthood, I kind of reverted and, don't want to see it. And now, as I have been able to move myself out of sort of a poverty mindset, out of this mindset of lack and into more of a state of abundance, more into a place where there is enough. And especially now that I am making a lot more money within my business, I'm able to really ask for what I am worth. That kind of mindset of it's just money has been really, really helpful because money, if you think about it, a lot of people give all these values to money. Money is this, money is that, money is this. And one of the things that I work with when I'm dealing with my clients around money issues is I'll say, guys, it's just money. It doesn't have any energy actually by itself. If you think about it, it's just a piece of paper. Until we sort of attach our psychological issues to money itself. And money is currency and currency is money. And money, just like anything else, is operating from the frequency we give it, from the value that we give it, from the meaning and the belief that we attach to it. And that's true because you can think about everybody that you know in your life has different beliefs, different values, different understandings about money, surrounding money. And so there's not sort of a hard and fast rule about money other than what you give it, which makes it kind of cool because you realize, okay, all these limiting things that I've been putting on money don't necessarily mean that they're true. And so we really need to get clear, first and foremost, that money holds no energy except for what we give it. Okay, that's kind of the first law. It's just money. All right. But then before we sort of get into the 5 most common money blocks, I want to pose a couple questions for you guys, because I think that as you're thinking about money, as you are thinking about how to get more of it, how to keep it, if you have anxiety around it, if you have stress around it, we have to answer a few questions before we can really, really get into it. Okay, so the first is, why do you feel like you want more money? Why do you want more money? If you had and acquired more money this year, this month, if somebody were to hand you an extra $1,000 this month, so what? What would that do for you? What would that create in your life? How would that shift the relationships in your life? How would it change the way you showed up in the world? How would it change the amount of impact that you're having in the world? Kind of what is it about money? If money is really not the thing we're after the thing that money is going to give us, why is it that you want money? So I would love to hear in the comments section from you guys, why do you want money? What's it going to do for you? What are the benefits? What gets you excited about having more money and potentially stressed about having more money? Okay, Ruby, you said, that's why my husband says it's just money. I will make more of it. And that is so true. Yes, I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, so think about that. Why do you want the money? That's the first question you have to answer before we get into our blocks. You have to understand, what is the motivation behind getting more money for you? And that's going to be different for everybody. There is no wrong answer. There's no right answer when it comes to this. This is specific and unique to you. All right, second question that I think is really important is, how will you know when it is enough? So one of the things that I hear from my clients all the time, and Lexi, we were talking about this on the pre-show, you were saying, I just want to make more money. I want to be a magnet for money, which I love. And one of the things that I recommended to you was to get clear and more specific on how much more money is it that you actually want. So how do you know when enough is enough? How do you know when you quote unquote hit the success that you're after? And that's going to be different for everybody. You can say that a billionaire is successful, and you can say a school teacher is successful based on how you define success. So that's one element of it. And then it's basically, what is it that you want? So how will you know when enough is enough for you? Is it making $10,000 extra dollars this year? Is it making $100,000 extra dollars this year? Is it making $10 extra this year? How will you know when you feel good and you feel like you have an enough? And then the third question that we have to explore when we're kind of setting up the stage to understanding our money blocks is, have you ever met anybody who has had a healthy relationship with money? So how we have perceived people's relationships with money, especially our parents, the people that are closest to us growing up, is going to inform our money blocks. So you want to get clear on who's kind of those voices in your life that are sort of the money voices in your life that come up when you get a paycheck in the mail, that come up when you get a car loan, that come up when you put a down payment on a mortgage, that come up when you're checking out at the store. Whose voice is that is either money shaming you, who is either, putting the fear of God into you, or who is lovingly speaking abundance into your ear? Who is that voice from your past, from your present? Really asking yourself, who do I know who has a healthy relationship with money or an unhealthy relationship with money? And how is that actually impacting how I think about money? Because most of us will never slow down to pause and ask ourselves, okay, well, what do I actually think about money? I can remember when I did this, I was at a Tony Robbins conference, and they have a whole section of the day where it's talking about money. It's talking about how to get it. What do you do with it? What value do you attach to it? And I'm like, how in the world have I never thought about this before? Like, I am a full-fledged adult who's making a paycheck, who is ignoring my budget, who's ignoring my bank account, obviously. And so how have I never thought about this? So everything that I was bringing to the money table were voices that weren't even mine. And so I had to really ask myself, okay, well, what is it that I want to believe about money? What is it that I want to think about money? And what kind of value do I want to attach to money? Okay, so those are our 3 questions. Why do you want money? How will you know when it's enough? And whose voices are dominating the conversation in your head when it comes to money? Those are kind of good questions. So jot those down if you want to. Put it in the comment section. I would love to hear from you what you think it is for yourself. Okay, so I'm so curious. The other day, I think yesterday, I crowdsourced from you guys and I said, okay, what are your beliefs around money? What are your fears around money? And I got some awesome responses. So I'm going to read a few of them to you that are sort of some common unspoken beliefs around money. And I've got my notes down here, so I'm going to go ahead and read these. Okay, first common unspoken belief is, if you have to ask the price, you can't afford it. I've heard that before. It's not polite to talk about money. Sorry, we're talking about it. Money doesn't grow on trees. You have to have money to make money. Money is the root of all evil. People with money are selfish and self-centered. Everyone can't be a millionaire. You can't buy happiness. Rich people only care about money. If you are rich, you can't be spiritual. I'm not smart enough to earn a lot of money. If I have too much money, I'll have too much responsibility. I shouldn't make more money than my husband. Okay, please tell me if you can relate to one or all of those. Type in a number 1 in the comment section. So just type in a number 1, type it in, hit enter. If you feel like you are so beyond this and those thoughts are not controlling your mind, type in a number 2. I want to kind of see from you guys, are these things that are still dominating that unconscious conversation within your mind? You know, people with money are selfish and self-centered. It's not polite to talk about it. Money doesn't grow on trees. Money is the root of all evil. Okay, Lexi, you said 1. Miriam, you said 1. Madison, you said 1. So you guys know, this is so common. I mean, this is what you guys told me were the things that are coming up for you that, I'm going to be honest, are largely unconscious. And when these beliefs are unconscious, they rule how we live our life. So our first goal is to kind of bring this up in our awareness and go, okay, what are my beliefs surrounding money? And is that something that I actually want to believe? The other thing that I found that was really fascinating to me, okay, we do have some 2. So Beth, Shelly, Melissa, Ruby, you guys are number 2. So cool. So you guys have done some money work, which I love, which is so awesome. I know that several of you guys work with people in different capacities. And so this is going to be helpful for y'all as well to kind of think through, how can I help them? How did I get out of that mindset? And how can I help the people I'm working with to get out of this mindset? And this mindset where we're having these limiting fears or beliefs is that we're kind of stuck in this poverty mindset. Oftentimes this is passed down from generation to generation. It's something that can be a cycle that is really challenging to break because you see the proof from your parents, from your grandparents, from your community that there isn't enough money, that you're always going to be broke, etc. So some of the kind of common poverty mindset behaviors and beliefs are, I used to do this, so I can speak to this, is that I used to drive around to find the cheapest gas. So like, let's say I'm at one gas station and I look across the street and it's a cent or 2 cents cheaper, then I would go ahead and drive across the street to get the cheaper gas. And at one point, I remember I had an app on my phone that showed me where the cheapest gas was. Now, if you think about it, let's say a common car holds 15 gallons of gas and you save 2 cents per gallon. That's 30 cents. So you just drove across the street to save 30 cents. Or maybe you drove around for 10 minutes trying to find the cheapest gas to save 30 cents. So that's a poverty mindset. I've got to get the cheapest because it matters. And in reality, it's not really affecting much of anything, especially not your pocketbook. Another poverty mindset thought is, I can't afford that. So one of the things that I began to realize is people would say like, hey, do you want to do that? Or, hey, do you want to do this? Or can you go come out with me? And I would always say, I'm so sorry, I just can't afford that. Well, I can't afford that. Shit, I can't afford that. Right? And so that is part of the mindset of somebody who is stuck in the poverty mindset is, I can't afford that. Whether or not that's true, every time we speak it, it affirms it. It drives that belief and that reality deeper and deeper into our subconscious and into our psyche. So another poverty mindset kind of way of thinking is, I can't make that kind of money. I'll never be able to change this. I'll always be poor. I have no control over this, sort of that victim mentality. I'm just going to be poor. I don't have money. I don't know how to get it. This is only how much my job pays me. They're never going to give me a raise. I'm stuck in this. This is the hand that I was dealt. This is generational. So this is kind of some of these thoughts that if you find yourself thinking throughout the day, then this is a great way to increase your awareness to know, okay, oh my gosh, I'm stuck in that poverty mindset. And the reason this is important is because when we have a poverty mindset, it only gives us poverty. Our mindset creates our actions that influence and ultimately create our results. So our thoughts that we have about money help us feel a certain way, drive us to a specific action, like we're not going to go out and be resourceful and try to figure out how to make more money, then we end up staying poor and we're living still paycheck to paycheck. So we're going to take back our responsibility and really creating wealth. Okay, so one of the things that I want to make the distinction is when we're talking about wealth, you can define that any way that you want. Wealth actually at its root comes from the word well-being and is meant not only to kind of talk about large sums of money, but also a rich and satisfying and fulfilling life. So when you think about being wealthy as maybe opposed to being rich, wealthy is about being, financially abundant as well as abundant within your mindset, within your soul, and having that satisfying, fulfilling life and that well-being. All right, so let's get into talking about our 5 common money blocks. And if you guys identify with these, please make sure that you put it out in the comment section. I want to know if this is what you struggle with. So we're going to go over 5 money blocks. So kind of gauge yourself, judge yourself, and go, what's the one that I struggle with the absolute most? So block number 1 is the strongest that I think everybody deals with, which is there is not enough. There's not enough money, which is scarcity at its finest. So we are typically, as human beings, talking about how there is not enough about everything. So think about this for a second. When you wake up in the morning, I didn't get enough sleep. There's not going to be enough time. I don't have enough resources. I don't have enough education. And the biggest source of this sort of not having enough is always attached to money. When I crowdsource and I ask you guys, what is the most common fear and block that you have around money? The majority of everybody said, I don't have enough of it. There's not enough. I don't believe that there is enough. And so what happens is when we believe that there is not enough, this is the reason why we stay in jobs that we hate. This is why we begin to become very competitive towards people because there's not enough for me and for you. So I'm going to do things that maybe I wouldn't necessarily do before because I want to get my share. And especially when we go back into our survival mindset, then if I'm going to protect my family and my friends and myself first, then I'm sure as hell going to kind of throw you under the bus to protect myself. It's that survival instinct when we are living from a place of scarcity. Aloria, you said that there's not enough time. Yep, I can totally identify with that. That's one thing that for me, I have a scarcity of time more than I do a scarcity of money. So I'm like trying to apply all this stuff with money to time as well. And so when we are in this scarcity mindset, it puts us out of the game completely. Okay, so I'm reading this book called The Soul of Money, which I highly recommend. And here's a little quote from it. It says, once we define our world as deficient, the total of our life energy, everything we think, everything that we say, and everything that we do, particularly with money, becomes an expression of an effort to overcome this sense of lack and the fear of losing to others or being left out. So that's why it creates so much anxiety because we're like, we don't have enough of it. There's not enough. I don't know how to get it. And that's going to stress me out. So we kind of end up living our lives from a place like if you were, as a little girl or a little boy, you played a game of musical chairs. And it's like you as sure hell don't want to be the last person who is the one who doesn't have a chair and you're scrambling around and then all of a sudden you don't have a place to sit. That's kind of what it feels like to exist with scarcity. You're really trying to make sure you're not the last one without a seat. And the reality is when get to this place of enoughness, it creates inspiration, it creates collaboration, it creates contribution in a way on a deeper level that is really, really beautiful. And I think that if we can all come to that place of believing there is enough, and we'll talk about that in a minute, that you are really going to be better off in how you live your day-to-day life and the energy that you bring to it. Okay, so let's talk about block number 2, which is money is not spiritual. Okay, I grew up in a Christian household and in a Christian school, and this was incredibly prevalent. I don't know if this is something that you guys experience, but there is a common misbelief and a money block that I see that if I'm doing my spiritual work or if I'm doing what I was created to be doing, that I shouldn't ask for money. If I'm living my purpose, I shouldn't ask for money. And this is tricky because basically it is demeaning the worth and value of what you bring to the table. And it's basically saying, I have to have this offering for free. There's a lot of beliefs around money is the root of all evil. Money corrupts a person. All of these kinds of things. So if somebody has money, I was not from my parents at all. They were a totally different money mindset, but from the community that I was raised in, it was like people who had money usually were sleazy or dishonest or lacked integrity, and they weren't spiritual. So one of the major blocks that I see in people, and they don't even necessarily know they realize this, is that money is not spiritual. And so this creates this disconnect. If you're bringing something to the world, you're like, oh my gosh, if it's not spiritual, then what do I do? And I'm going to totally oppose that and say that, money is perhaps maybe not even the most spiritual, but it's our responsibility to be able to, for us that are, full of integrity, who have amazing hearts, to make money so that we can make a difference in the world. A friend of mine always said, money is just a mirror. If you're a bad person, more money makes you that much worse. If you're a good person, then money is going to make you that much more impactful and be able to really have an incredible impact and change the world for the better. So second block is money is not spiritual. All right, guys, number 3, the third block is I don't need it. Now, this is kind of tricky because it's sort of, there's a pride element here where people will say, well, I don't really need a lot of money to live. I can live simply. I don't need this. It's not important that I make money. I'm fine not having a lot of money. And that's a block to actually making more money. So if you're trying to make more money, but you're also saying out loud and to yourself, I don't really need it. It's not something that I really want, then you're never going to attract or bring in more money. And so again, it goes back to that first question that we asked of why is it that you want more money? What's the benefit? What's it going to do? How is it going to change your life and the people around you? And how are you going to impact people for good with it? So money block number 3, kind of a lie that I see that happens subconsciously is I don't need it. I'm not one of those people that needs a lot of money. I'm not one of those people that needs to drive a nice car or have nice things. I just don't need it. So that's actually a very tricky mind kind of loop that happens that puts you away from attracting money. All right, block number 4 is that's for them, not for me. So it's so great that they're rich. That's just simply not for me. This is really powerful. This is something that I've actually been dealing with lately, which is anytime you see someone else as an other, the rich person, the wealthy people, and you don't identify yourself with them, then that creates a massive gap. So it's basically the unreal other that we create in our minds, that they are somehow different than us, that they have something special that we don't have, that they have an education that we didn't receive, that their family was wealthy and they just passed down all of this knowledge and all of this wealth. They're different than me, so therefore I'll never have it. So that's for them, not for me. They're different. They are set up better. And I want to challenge that. I was talking to a trainer of mine, and he said he was talking about kind of this poverty mindset, and we were talking about people who had money. And he said, I said, what makes them have the ability to have more money than you do? And he said, well, I think it's because they have more education, or maybe their families handed them down money. And I said, okay, Well, I'm going to prove that wrong right now, because I can tell you that, for example, my dad, who I love and adore, as we grew up, he tried a lot of different businesses. He was kind of a serial entrepreneur, and all of them pretty much failed. Some were sort of mildly successful, but in our house, it was very much feast or famine. A lot of famine. 5 kids to feed. It was a lot. And he did not come from a family who was wealthy. He did not come from, an inheritance or anything like that. He literally built himself up to become an incredibly successful entrepreneur today. So it's not so much what you were given as what you do with it. So we have to stop seeing rich people, wealthy people as an other and begin to identify with them as if they were us. I am that rich person. I am just as wealthy as they are. Mentally, it just hasn't caught up with me yet. So beginning to see yourself as the same versus separate. All right, let's talk about the 5th money block, which is there is a glass ceiling. So some of us have, I shouldn't say some, all of us have a temperature gauge when it comes to money. All of us have an amount that we feel comfortable making. So let's say you make $2,500 a month in your current job. That feels really comfortable for you. You know how to budget it. You know how to make sure that it gets to where it needs to go. And if you make less than that, if you think about a temperature gauge and it goes down, if it's 72 degrees, it's comfortable. If it goes down to, I should go that way. If it goes down to 70 degrees, you're going to be cold. So if your paycheck goes from $2,500 to $2,000, you're struggling. Like, how am I going to pay that car payment? How am I going to, make sure that I get fed well this month? There's a discomfort that happens. So then same thing happens if you go up 2 degrees to 74 degrees, all of a sudden you're hot. All of a sudden, if you're making $3,000 a month, you get a little panicky in that you're like, okay, well, what do I do with this money? You just kind of go out and you spend it like crazy. So we all have a temperature that we feel comfortable in. And so when we hit that amount, even if it's the amount that we're reaching for, then we've hit that glass ceiling and you think to yourself, I can't make any more than that. That is going to be a money block to pushing through that glass ceiling and getting to the next level. I've had to do that a lot in the current business that I am in with doTERRA. I have pretty much doubled and tripled my income every single year as I have been in this company. And like I said, I started out totally broke, massively in debt, no money consciousness, didn't even want to look at a budget. In fact, I created my first budget last year, you guys. And let me just say that was sobering. And I started checking my bank account regularly. That was also sobering at the time. But that was huge for me. I had to keep pushing and keep going past my glass ceiling to up my comfortability in my sort of temperature range of what I'm comfortable making. And again, it goes back to identifying with that wealth. Okay, so those are our top 5 blocks. There's not enough money. Money is not spiritual. I don't need that much money. That's for them, not for me. And the last block is there is a glass ceiling for what I can make. So I'm curious from you guys, which of those 5 do you feel like you struggle with the most? I want to know which one feels the strongest for you. Okay, so one of the things that I want to talk about is as you're beginning to identify with these money blocks, some of you guys are going like, okay, that's great, but how do I get past them? And so when I work with my life coach clients, this is something that I walk them through that is really powerful. We talk about identifying their limiting beliefs surrounding money. So I asked you guys this question earlier, but this would be kind of a great exercise for you to do to write down, which is identifying your limiting beliefs. Where are your money blocks? What do you really believe about money? What do you find yourself saying about money? I can't afford this. There's not enough of it. There's a glass ceiling. These people are different than me. I'm never going to make a lot of money. Identify, write down what your limiting beliefs are and get clear and identify them. All right. The second way that we are going to begin to break out of these blocks is to challenge them. And this is a question that I ask all the time, anytime I uncover a limiting belief, which is, do I want this to be true? Do I want this to be true? Side note, Marianne, you said 4 and 5 on the common blocks. Melvin, you said a 5. Okay, I want to know from the rest of you guys, which ones are your top common blocks? But you're going to begin to challenge these. Do you want these beliefs to be true? If you don't, if you go, no, that's not really giving me what I want. I don't want to live in scarcity. I don't want to live in a place of it not being enough. Then we've got to work on creating new affirmations, new statements on what it is that we want to believe about money. What do you want to be true? I have a great ebook on my website that you can download, maryhyatt.com, right on the front page there, that's all about creating powerful affirmations. So if you want to learn how to do that, you can go there, maryhyatt.com. But you've got to create new beliefs, new language around this shift that's going to take place in your money mindset. Guys, I just spilled water all over this sweet little keyboard. Woo. Okay, I'll leave that. That's how it goes. I got super excited about that. I love affirmations. It's so fun. Okay, so you got to really think through, what do you want to believe about affirmations? All right, so let's talk about my secrets. You guys can see I'm turning a little bit red. I'm thinking about my sweet dad, whose computer this is. All right, let's just see if we can let that dry out. Sorry, guys. Not technical difficulties, just having the ability to not go crazy with the water. Okay. All right, so back at it. Let's talk about ways to really get past these money blocks. So these are my secrets that I feel like are fundamental for getting past any money block and creating more wealth in your life, creating more abundance in your life, and getting to the place where you are having that sense of fulfillment, of joy. Okay, so my secret number one is to talk. Now, one of the common misbeliefs or things that people say surrounding money, of course, is it's not polite to talk about money. Well, I'm going to challenge that and to say that you can't change anything if you aren't honest. So most of us want to put our head in the sand, totally ignore what's going on in our financial life, pretend it's all going to just work itself out, not be proactive about it. And this is my secret. We've got to begin talking about it, especially if you are in a relationship with a partner, with a spouse. This is one of the top stressors in a relationship is money. And so when there's sort of this unspoken rule that you can't talk about it, it creates all this tension. It gets really awkward. And so one of my secrets is you got to just start talking about it. You've got to start the conversation, get clear with where you are at when it comes to money. And so we've got to be honest, brutally honest. Nothing can change until we say, yeah, so we're $50,000 in debt. We get it in debt every single month. And I don't make enough money to actually live the life that I want to live. I'm miserable and I'm unhappy and I don't know what to do. There's like so much liberation in that. It gets so powerful when you are able to really be honest with where you are. One of the things that I've had to do this year, as I have made more money, is meet with a financial planner and talk about taxes and talk about investing and all this kind of stuff. And y'all, I'm going to be honest, I am freaking clueless. I have no freaking idea how to invest, what that even looks like, insurance and taxes and quarterly payments. It's like, what? So for me, that was a big thing for me to actually get in a room with somebody and talk about it and to be honest and look it square in the face to know where I'm starting from. So the first secret is to start talking. The second secret is generosity. Guys, this is one of my favorite quotes from Junior Murchison, and he says, this is so great. He says, money is like manure. If you spread it around, it does a lot of good. But if you pile it up in one place, it stinks like hell. Is that not so true? When you give money, you open the doors to receive it. It matches that frequency, that action. The more you give, the more you will get. That is why in every single major religion in the world and every kind of spirituality, there is a huge emphasis on service, on giving. It doesn't matter, what religion, there's a tithe involved. And sometimes that's money, sometimes it's time, sometimes it's service. There's a lot of ways to give, but generosity sends kind of a message that combats this first common block, which is there's not enough. And it says, there is enough, there is plenty, and so I'm going to give. And it also sends a message to your brain that says there is enough. So generosity is a powerful antidote to that first block of there is not enough. Another a wonderful quote by Ariana Huffington of Huffington Post. She says, "We become virtuous by the practice of virtue, responsible by the practice of responsibility, generous by the practice of generosity, compassion by the practice of compassion, and we become abundant by giving to others." So that really is, it's to me, if you want to shift your money situation, there is no quicker way to do this than by giving. So that's my second secret. Now, my third secret to combat these money blocks is going to be this concept of sufficiency, arriving at a place of enough. When we are constantly grasping and trying to get in this desperate energy of I want, that is a block in and of itself. When we can arrive at a place of enough, when we say to ourselves, we realize that money does not buy happiness, that money does not buy fulfillment, this is really, really incredible. We have to understand that there is a sufficient amount of resources. There is an infinite supply out there. Abundance is a fact of nature. It's a fundamental law of nature that there is enough and that it is infinite. And one of the things that we have to think about when we're looking at money is we want to be a good steward of our money. And sufficiency is about being a good steward. It's about managing our money that we have currently right now well. Now, we're not going to give once we make more. We're going to give now. We're not going to have an impact once we get a raise. We're going to do that now. And so when we come from a place of sufficiency and sort of this respectful stewardship, it redefines all of our resources in our life. We're able to look at things with a new lens. We're able to see what it is that we have, and it allows us to rely on our resourcefulness. So when we realize there is enough and I am enough, if there's like a self-sufficiency, I am enough, that I know that I can get to the place where I say, okay, I'm not exactly sure what to do, but I know that I'm resourceful enough to go figure it out, that I can go create money, that I can go create wealth and abundance. It's not coming from out there anymore. It's coming from inside. All that we need is within us now. So the struggle for sufficiency has nothing to do with the amount of money that you have. It is all about the relationship that you have with money. So you've got to come, before you make more money, you've got to come from a place of enoughness. All right. And my last and my final secret that for me is my anecdote, honestly, for everything in life is gratitude. Energy flows where focus goes. So when you shift your focus on what you have rather than what you don't have, you get more of that. You've got to begin to shift your language. Not talking about vocalizing what you don't have, not having enough money, I can't afford that. That's too much money. To, I have enough. That I'm so grateful for this house over my head. I'm so grateful for this car that I get to drive. I'm so grateful for the opportunities that are coming my way. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I shifted my language big time within the past several years to ad nauseum talk about gratitude, to be grateful for every single thing in my life, including my challenges. Because I believe that when we are grateful, our challenges turn into blessings, which are so powerful. There's an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to heal and to forgive. So this is really, really powerful. Gratitude, 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 and to be grateful in advance. So as you decide and figure out, okay, why do you want this money? You get clear on creating that vision of how much is going to be enough for you, of what you want to do for your life, your kind of the quality of life that you want to live. Then one of the most powerful secrets is being grateful in advance. I am grateful right now that I am able to have this money coming into my bank account, that clients are coming to me, that my clients are paying me what I ask for them, my full price, that I'm able to pay off all of my debt. I'm so grateful that the money is here for me to do that before it's actually happened. So this is really, really powerful, to be not only grateful for your present circumstances, but to be grateful in advance for what is coming. It says the message that I am confident, I have the faith that this is working itself to me, and that it is all going to be here. It just hasn't caught up with me yet. So let me just recap by saying that There is so much here to explore, to become aware of, to identify, to challenge, and to kind of reaffirm and to create new affirmations around. And really the secrets to becoming wealthy, the secrets to having enough, the secrets to being fulfilled financially, and for that not to rule your life in a stressful place is, number one, my secret is to talk about it, get honest. My secret number two is generosity. My secret number three is sufficiency. And lastly, gratitude. So guys, thank you so much for being with me today. I have absolutely loved every minute of it. It's been fun to work with these new images and get excited about it. And I will see you in the next couple weeks. I'm going to be off next week. I'm going on a cruise, so I will not have any service, but you will find me the following week. And if you want to learn how to do those powerful affirmations and supercharge them, make sure you go to my website, maryhyatt.com, where you can download my free ebook. Guys, have a fabulous rest of your week, and I'll see you next time.